Hi there everyone, welcome back to another video here with me, Jennifer Kirk, and we're going to be reviewing a new item. And actually, we haven't done any Bachmann items for quite some time, so I thought it was important to redress that and also explore good value items that are available right now for the run up to this Christmas to either ask for as a gift from somebody else or get as a gift for yourself, or indeed get as a gift for somebody else that you know is into model railway stuff. And this particular item is an incredibly good value buy. So I thought I'd extol its virtues and I'd show you it inside and out so you can decide for yourself. So without further ado, come with me and I'll give you a closer look. So this is the model. It's the class G2A from Bachmann, and I picked this up whilst I was at Worley, but it's from a retailer, Rails of Sheffield in fact, that have it in their sale right now, so you can still go and buy it from their shop, from their website. And it was just such a great price. I thought, you know, it's a lovely model. I've already got one of these. I think we may have reviewed it in the past. It's not the same livery that I've got, and actually there are a few detail differences. So I thought, you know, it'll be a lovely addition to the collection. So let's actually I'll show you the catalogue number first. So we've got 31-481 class G2A 49106 BR black early emblem, and this is factory weathered, and we can also see on there it's got a 21-pin DCC socket. It's DCC ready, but I have actually fitted this with a chip, but it doesn't come ready fitted with a chip. So what we'll also do is we'll put a link down below, both for you to be able to pick up one of these yourself from Rails of Sheffield, but also a recommended DCC decoder so that you too can get it chipped. And I'll quickly show you how to get it chipped. It's actually one of the easiest models that I've come across. So let's get it out of the box, because only boring channels dwell on the box. You've all seen a box before. We're not that sad. So there's a little packet of detail stuff there. I'm just going to show you this before I get it out. And we've got some vacuum pipes in there and what appear to be front, I think they're guard irons for at the front, which would stop any, if there was something like tree branches, that kind of thing that's fallen on the track. It just helps to stop these from getting caught under the wheels and causing a derailment. So just an extra line of defence that pretty much all locomotives have. So putting all that to one side, and you can see there it comes factory weathered, as you saw on the box. But actually, I'm really impressed by this weathering. It's not just a quick blowover with an airbrush, and it really struck me when I first saw this out of the box that, you know, we've got a suggestion of rust and scale and, you know, all the grime and muck that these locomotives would accumulate, because they were workhorses, freight workhorses in the main, so they wouldn't have necessarily been all that clean. But you can really see that Bachmann have, with their factory weathering, caught that look of a workhorse that's you know, got that patina of grime and hard work on there. Now, one of the other things as well I just want to show you is the red on the buffer beam. It's not actually red they've used this faded washed out colour, which really adds to the factory applied weathering. And you can see that it looks faded. It looks like it's been in the sun, that it's been subjected to dirt and grime and oil. And it's actually a really good choice of colouring that Bachmann have done. So this isn't just an airbrush blowover. There is a lot more going on with this model. Now, the thing that originally sold this model to me when I bought my, actually a clean, unweathered example when it first came out, was these lovely cast wheels that, you know, it's formerly a London and North Western Railway locomotive, and Bachmann has had it in their range for a number of years now, bringing it out in LMS livery and BR early and late crest liveries, but also there's some detail differences. So when I show you some pictures of the model I already have, you'll notice that it's got this cab back on the tender, which this model doesn't have. So when you buy these, there are some variants between different versions, and for me it's really nice that in getting this model it gives me an opportunity to have that little minor detail variant available in my fleet that just, adds that bit of interest when you've got these on shed together. The model itself is just what you would expect from Bachmann, fully super detailed, and we've got, we don't actually have the motion represented underneath the boiler, but you do have a lot of other stuff in there. I'm just going to move my hand and hopefully you can see right through. There are bits of pipe work, separately applied detail in there, which do go a long way to give that sense of depth to this model, that it's not just a shell within which there's a motor, it's actually just like the real locomotive, and I do love that. It gives that great sense of depth into the model, which draws the eye and makes you feel that there's a lot more going on here. Now, the actual boiler, and in particular the firebox design, shows these in their later LMS BR guise, and a few people have asked why can't we have these in London and Northwestern livery, and the reason for that is quite simply because these were rebuilt in LMS days, and I believe they certainly got a new firebox which changed the shape here. So any London and Northwestern Railway livery that Bachmann were to apply to this straight model would be factually inaccurate. It just, maybe if the preserved example got a faux London and Northwestern Railway livery, then you could model that. But certainly, in terms of historical accuracy, they're not suitable for the pre-grouping period. It remains to be seen whether Bachmann might tool up another option for these, which would be able to show them off in that guise. But as of filming this, that hasn't yet happened. Turning again to the underside, the brake rigging is all factory applied, so we don't have to bother with that. Couplings, we've got slimline tension lock couplings, and on the front of the locomotive it's got this sort of self-centering mechanism. Because of the overhang, on very tight curves it does swing out quite a bit, so to avoid derailing your train when these are running backwards, that has got a similar kind of mechanism to what we've seen on the Mark I horse boxes or the plate wagons, which TMC commissioned from Bachmann. So it's actually a nice touch. The only problem for me, though, is when you take the coupling out of the NEM pocket, say if you don't want that, you're still faced with this rather ugly looking NEM pocket sticking down beneath the model. So if that is a deal clincher for you, you're going to have to I don't really want to say cut it off, but it looks to me like that might be a bit tricky to fish out that mechanism, to remove it. So I suspect some seasoned modelers might just clip it off, which does seem a bit sacrilege. I'm just looking there. Some of the brake rigging has popped out on this example, but it's no great shakes. There we go, to kind of get that back in. So it's, absolutely fine there. We've got the tender drawbar arrangement there, but it's, on the Hornby locomotives I've reviewed, I've always commented how great it is to see a tender drawbar that's just got a screw in either end to stop it from being able to come undone. And if I do that, you can see suddenly all of the stress is on those wires. So it would be nice to see Bachmann follow the lead that Hornby has set and put some kind of a retainer on there, just to avoid that as a risk. But it's not a huge issue. You just have to remember to be a bit more careful. One of the things that I do really like, though, is that they've got this retaining strap kind of assembly around the drawbar holding the wires, and that just stops them from drooping down and getting caught on things. So, swings and roundabouts. Give with one hand, take away with the other. So there's some really nice touches on there, which I think are better than the Hornby models. And again, that touch with the tender drawbar attachment that isn't as good as the Hornby model. So, different manufacturers have different ways of doing these. On the wheels as well, it's full 8 coupled. It picks up from all the wheels, I think. No, actually, funnily enough, I'm looking down there. It picks up from the lead 2 and the rear. Now, these wheels are a little bit odd. They're actually flangeless, and that is, as far as I'm aware, fully prototypical. The real locomotives had flangeless wheels on this particular axle, and that was just to assist it in getting round corners so that it didn't end up with flange climbing and coming off the track. So that is actually prototypically correct and also helps this locomotive get round tighter corners. By the looks of it, I'm just looking on the tender whether it's got tender pickups, and I can't see actually any evidence of tender pickups, even though the wires go through to the tender. Now, the reason that the wires go through is because this has the DCC socket in the tender. You can also see some little holes in the base there, and that's so if you sound fit this, there's a means for the sound to escape. And actually, the inside of this tender is very, very roomy. Now, to get it open, you can see at the back there, there's just 2 screws. Undo both those screws and the tender top literally just lifts off. It's quite big, it's quite boxy. This entire volume that you see here is replicated inside the tender. The coal load doesn't appear to be particularly deep. In fact, I'm just seeing whether it comes out. I've never really put this to the test. It does feel like it might be moving, but there isn't really much depth underneath that. Most of the space that you see in this tender is inside and open to be able to put in a sound speaker. And actually, on my other example, I have sound fitted it with a Hornby TTS chip, not strictly accurate for this locomotive. I'm trying to remember which one I went for. I think it might even be a 9F 210 sound chip, which the purists would be choking on their rivet counting machine. But for me, you know, it sounds all right. I'm not rivet perfect when it comes to the sounds that steam locomotives make, but if you want to, Lego Man Biffo, just to give you another example, does do sound files for locomotives such as these, so you can get a more accurate sound file in there, and there's plenty of space for the speaker and the chip, but obviously you pay a lot more for that, so you pays your money, you takes your choice. I fitted this with a 21 pin chip that I had lying around, and actually I haven't needed to reset any of the CV settings. It's just worked absolutely fine. Turning to some of the other detail, well, in the tender we've got these brake wheels, I believe they might be. All the detail on that back head is so nicely picked out, and again the weathering extends into there with a sense that everything is a little bit tired and oily and covered in a layer of grime. It's really nice to see. Tempo printing on the sides is really nicely done. We've got the number is really crisp. The 7F power classification on there. And we've also got overhead warning stripes, which is interesting for me because I'd always associated these with coming in when the late crest came in, but I suppose it stands to reason they could have been retroactively applied to a locomotive that didn't go in for a full repaint. On the tender, we've got the cycling lion, and that is really nicely done. Again, the weathering is nicely applied around all the axle boxes, and as I alluded to before, this kind of rusty look just here on the front of the tender and the back of the cab is really nicely done. In terms of other details, well, some of the weathering is actually, it has to be said, I'm just rubbing there, it's actually coming off the coupling rods, and I think this is down to the fact that the locomotive itself is lubricated when assembled in the factory, and perhaps some of that lubrication has got onto these connecting rods before the weathering has been applied. So again, it's a minor detail, but it is actually rubbing off the other side as well. It may be that the weathering, actually the weathering doesn't particularly stick to the metal that these coupling rods are made of, so just be a little bit careful on handling, I guess, is what I can say about that. Again, not a major detraction at all in the slightest. Overall, this is a good solid model, and at the price that Rails currently have these on offer, I believe around the £82 mark, it really does offer amazing value for money in the run up to Christmas. So if you want to pick up one of these for yourself, I've got a link down in the description box below. Follow that, you can pick one up, and we're also recommending from the same source a DCC chip that is a good fit to this if you want to DCC fit it. So overall, from Bachmann, this for me is one of the highlights of the Bachmann range, and it's great to see it being available at a really favourable price. So in terms of score, I think there's probably a good solid 9.1 out of 10, and a lot of that is down to, the finish of this locomotive is great, the running qualities are very, very fine, even on some quite steep corners that you would have thought an 8-coupled locomotive might have some issues with. This gets around just fine, so it really is a good, solid performer and a great addition to anybody's collection. And at this great price, really, you just can't be robbed. DCCing this locomotive is really easy. It's nice to see that manufacturers are just making it easier and easier. So I'm going to guide you through the process. There's already a chip in this, but I'm going to show you how to get inside, the space that's in there, because it is quite a roomy tender, which means if you want to fit sound, I have actually fitted a Hornby TTS sound chip into one of these before. But let's get to it. So first things first, turn the locomotive over. You've got 2 screws, one there, one there. We just need to undo these. So, inside the tender, you can see there that the space that you see on the outside is there on the inside. And that might sound like a bit of an oxymoron, but on some tender locomotives, you've got a removable coal load which reveals the actual inside of the coal chute, which impinges on this space inside. This locomotive is actually really good for that because there isn't a coal chute, so what you see is what you get. Now, this has already been fitted. I put in a 21-pin chip that I had hanging around from a previous video. So you can see there, normally when you open it, you would just have your blanking plate on there, lever it up very carefully. I tend to find a little bit of force both sides sequentially to get it out so you don't bend any of the pins, and then put your chip on. Any chip you want to put in here, there is plenty of room, and you can also see there the holes in the tender floor and some mounting points which allow you to mount a speaker facing downwards, which would allow a sound fitted chip to go into there. Putting it back together, you've got a couple of clips on the front of the tender, so you need to get them located by lifting the back of the tender up a little bit. Once they're in, drops down, and then it's just a case of getting these screws back in and you're done. Well, I hope that's been really informative to you. Don't forget to like this video, share it too, and also remember, if you want to buy one of these yourself, then we've got some links down below that gets you straight to a source that you can find one exactly like the model that I've reviewed for yourself. So until next time, you don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and take really good care of yourself. It's been really great to have your company. So take care. Bye for now. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Bob Threeton, Alec Ralph, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, and oorail.co.uk. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knobty Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.